Okay, let's dive into Josh Rosen. And let's just get some things out on the table. I think we're all somewhat products of the way we were raised and definitely some initial professional experiences we have. I grew up with a father who was actually older. He was, he passed away a couple years ago. He was in his late 70s, had me after he was 40. He grew up very old school. Obviously, when you're born in the 40s, his father fought in World War II. His brother died in Vietnam. He was a farmer. Obviously, loved sports, where I get it. But very old school values. You either showed up on time or you didn't. You either got good grades or you didn't. It was very black and white. There was no middle ground. We didn't really do excuses where I came from. And then once that's how I grew up my entire life. I still to this day get paranoid about being late, which helped me once I started working in football. Because football, like my environment growing up, same deal. You either get a first down or you don't. You either make the tackle or you don't. It's very black and white. You either win the game or you don't. It's why as I've transitioned to the media, it's a little fluffier, I grew up in an old school private sector business home. Then I went to football in college in the NFL, and there wasn't many hypothetical middle grounds. I mean, some came from me. I gave some excuses. They just didn't fly. There was a no victimhood mentality, a no bullshit mentality in my home. And then when I worked at Fresno State and I worked in Philly, you either did what you were told and got the job done, or you didn't. There was no middle ground. Now, listen, sometimes something happened and we all can make excuses for individual circumstances, right? We're late to something because our car broke down. We got bad grades this quarter in college because our girlfriend dumped us. We didn't get the first down because the right tackle slipped. Like, there are individual instances in life where it's okay to make an excuse, where it's a believable excuse, where it actually, the excuse you're making is true. But I do fundamentally believe that if you have that mentality in life, you're more likely to succeed. Now, there are going to be people that have different type personalities and that were raised different that are going to think different. And we're just going to have to agree to disagree. Because I know this. I plan on raising my unborn children. I'll be a little different. But there are going to be some basic principles of life that I gained from someone that was born in the 40s that my child that will be born probably in the next decade, you think, I'm in my mid-30s, will also carry with them. Because I do think there are things that last forever. And one thing I saw today, Adam Schefter tweeted that Josh Rosen is on the trade block. And all I saw on social media, and I think you hear this a lot when anyone talks about Josh Rosen, he got the raw end of the deal. He is getting screwed. It is not his fault. I've seen this over and over and over. And you know what? I'd go, getting drafted by Arizona, when Vance Joseph was your head coach, when your offensive line was pitiful, and you got thrown into a game which many people in the NFL think that Sam Bradford in that game might have just said, I'm over it. I'm out. And he got thrown in, remember, of a game late in the fourth quarter. Shitty way to start your career, which is the case for a lot of rookies. It's not a seamless transition. Now, he went on to start 13 games that rookie year, and it was ugly. It was bad. But he got 13 regular season games. Kingsbury comes, and I didn't appreciate the way they handled it. I thought it was a little Bush League at times, the way they treated the situation of a guy that, from my knowledge, wasn't a bad human being, was a good teammate, was doing everything humanly possible to attempt to be a good football player. But the NFL is a business, and they decided to draft Kyler Murray. Pretty clear after 1 year, right decision. We all would have made it. But unless you're in the Rosen family, I don't think you'll meet a human being that didn't say that ultimately, whether they handled the lead up to it correctly or not, that the Cardinals didn't make the right decision. Here's where my pity for Josh Rosen ends. And I'm someone that loved Josh Rosen coming out. I had him as my number 2 quarterback in that class. And I was wrong. I had Sam Darnold, then him. Then, probably I'd have to go back and look. Josh Allen. I didn't like Josh Allen. I didn't like Lamar Jackson. Clearly, Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen, Lamar definitely, and even Josh, run circles around Josh Rosen. He is not as good a player as those guys. Not even debatable. Same with Baker Mayfield. Has done way more in the league. Now, Baker's got to put up or shut up this year, but that's another story. Once you get traded for a second-round pick, though, as he did to Miami, who was not very good, my pity ends there. Because it's not like they gave up nothing, so they had nothing invested in the guy. They gave a second-round pick for Josh Rosen. They gave him the opportunity to beat out Ryan Fitzpatrick. Did you hear what I just said? Ryan Fitzpatrick. I didn't say Ben Roethlisberger. I didn't say Tom Brady. Hell, I didn't say Dak Prescott or Jimmy Garoppolo. I said Ryan Fitzpatrick, who, from all accounts, probably one of the smartest. I think he has the highest Wonderlic score in the history of the NFL. Smart Ivy League guy. Very likable guy. I'm a Ryan Fitzpatrick fan. But Josh Rosen, who was the 10th pick in the draft, and when he came out, now the league quickly changed. He's not very mobile. But old school pocket quarterback, the immense arm talent, couldn't beat him out. When they had just traded a second-round pick for him, they had got Fitzpatrick for nothing. He was just your classic bridge quarterback, pay him $3 or $4 million. They weren't that invested into Ryan Fitzpatrick. Josh Rosen was given the opportunity to beat him out and could not do it. And then when Josh Rosen got his opportunity to play at different times for the Miami Dolphins, he threw 1 touchdown and 5 picks. You'd be like, well, the Miami Dolphins were terrible. No one could throw any touchdowns. Ryan Fitzpatrick threw 20 and 13 interceptions. So he had his opportunity. While it was short-lived, sometimes you never know when they're going to come. He was drafted 10 overall, so he already made a bunch of money. And the Arizona situation, out of his control, turned shitty really quick. Nothing he could do. But once he got to Miami, they invested a second-round pick for him, and all he had to beat out was Ryan Fitzpatrick. To me, it goes on him. Do you know what it turns out? Now, again, his story's not completely written. He's in his early 20s. He could still resurrect his career down the line. But as of right now, his failure is on him. He had the opportunity. He was around Brian Flores. He was around that offense, the staff, the teammates, every single day to make an impression, to get his opportunity, and he could not do it. Obviously, once they draft Tua Tagovailoa, he was done. It was over. But it was over way before this draft. He had his chance last season. You think if Sam Darnold or Josh Allen was, let's just say one of those two guys, had been, instead of at 3, the Jets had taken Sam Darnold, or at 7, the Buffalo Bills had taken Josh Allen, it was Josh Rosen went in one of those spots. So at 10, the Arizona Cardinals got Sam Darnold or got Josh Allen. You don't think they beat out Ryan Fitzpatrick? Because I do. You don't think that maybe they changed the direction of the franchise? Maybe. I think there's a decent chance. Josh Rosen clearly did not. So when you see that Josh Rosen got the short end of the stick, I agree in Arizona. Listen, we all have bad days, bad moments, a bad year, things that are out of our control. But eventually in football, you can't make excuses. You either got the job done or you didn't. And you know what turns out? He's probably just not very good. And people like me that liked him were just wrong. He is not, and the league has dramatically changed. He can't move with his feet. And his career is now circling the drain. It really is. I didn't see it coming. I actually, applauded when they drafted him 10 overall. But the overall narrative that this is some royal screw job and he was handed pocket 2s, and it's just not true. Because the moment he got traded to Miami, the previous situation was irrelevant. It was his time to shine, and he couldn't do it. So when you see these people make excuses for him, just know that it's on Josh Rosen, nobody else, that his career in Miami's coming to an end. What's up, everybody? My name is John Middlekauff, and I host a show for Colin Cowherd called 3 and Out on his podcast network. You can subscribe to wherever you listen to your podcast. I worked in the NFL as a scout for Andy Reid and Howie Roseman, and I've been talking about football for the last 7 years. If you like your football talk, raw and unfiltered, no BS. I'm your guy. Subscribe to 3 and Out right now.